Okay, so today we're going to start the process of doing a chimney crown. The first thing we want to do when we're doing a chimney crown is make sure we have all the appropriate tools and equipment, and materials. So what I have here is just tar paper. This tar paper is going to be used for protecting concrete, protecting the roof where we're working, anywhere that we need to protect the customer's property. That's also the same thing we're using the plastic for. We also have the plastic and tack hammer and staple so that when we're done building the crown and we're leaving it for the night, we can cover with plastic if we're going to have cold weather conditions or if we're going to have rain in the forecast. The next thing we have here is our caulking. We use a clear caulking, and that caulking is for all of our forms. When we go to pour our concrete, we're going to caulk all of our forms, and that way we get a nice smooth finish on our crown when we peel those off. We also have a level. That's how we're going to level our crown, so that when we're doing the formwork, that's level, so that when you pull the formwork off and the crown's revealed, that'll all be level. I have a hammer, just a utility hammer, and then the tools for finishing the concrete crown, I have a trowel, smaller trowel, and edger. And this edger is quarter round and it puts a nice bullnose top on all the edges of our crown. We also have our form wood, which we typically use a 2x4 for the first ring around the chimney, and then a 2x8 for our baseboards, which would give us a 3.5-inch crown. We also have a hose, drill, power, and buckets. And these buckets are for mixing our concrete and then getting it up onto the roof. And the water is self-explanatory, mixing the mortar. And we have mortar and concrete for our crown material. We like to do 2 parts concrete, 1 part mortar. That adds a little more sand, which gives us a little better finish on our crown. I also have our screw gun, battery, and skill saw. Those are the tools that we're going to use when we go ahead and cut the forms for the crown, build the crown, and screw it all together. Those are the tools for that. I have my vibrator here. When we pour the crown, one of the last steps before we finish it is we're going to vibrate that so we get a nice full concrete all around the edges of that baseboard, so there's no air pockets and stuff, so you have a nice clean finish on the crown. I also have our rebar for the crown. We use this rebar to put a nice solid ring of steel reinforcement all the way around the top of the crown in the concrete. That allows the concrete to be able to crack but not be able to pull away. Concrete always cracks. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just the nature of concrete. But by holding that steel ring in there, that'll keep that crown together even when there's small stress cracks. I also have a liner here, which are a variance for each job, depending on what size and if or we need them. So we always have one here and a quickie saw to make cuts to get the height of those liners correct. I also like to have a bucket of water and sponge all times for any type of mess that gets made, and then acid so that we can acid wash the chimney that we worked on previously, so that when we go to put our crown on, everything's nice and clean. And a garbage bag. I like to have a garbage bag on hand at all times, just to make sure that we have a place to put all our garbage so the job stays organized. The last few things is like pens and pencils, and we want to make sure we have a permanent marker and pencils to make sure we have clean, nice, precise marks. So that's the materials that we need, and we can go ahead and get started on building our crown. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is start our crown, build, and first step is come up on the roof, nickel your chimney, make sure that it's ready. If it needs to be acid washed, go ahead and acid wash it now. Would be the time to do it. Once that's washed, you can start the process of doing the crown. We want to acid wash it first before we put the crown on. That way it's clean here where we're going to be working, and that we don't have to pull off the crown in the last game. So we're going to clean it now. The chimney's pretty clean, so we're not going to worry about that at the time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get ready to take the measurements for the crown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first locate which side of the chimney is which. And the way that we do that is we use the symbol of north, south, east, and west. And your south face of your chimney is always going to be your lowest point on the roof line. So this chimney, the lowest point is this face here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mark that the south face. So this lowest point is my south face. Then I know that this face now is going to be my west face. that. And as I come to my high side, which now is the opposite side of the south face, now is our north face. And so, which makes this last face the east face. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my clipboard, my pencil and pad, and I'm going to go ahead and mark a square or rectangle depending on the shape of the chimney. I'm on my south face. I'm going to go to my south face measurement, which is my low point. I'm going to go ahead and measure the width of the top of the chimney. So on this chimney, I'm 20 and 7/16 exactly. So I'm going to go ahead and write 20 and 7/16 here. I'm going to move around to my west side. I'm going to measure the top of my west side. My west side is 29 and 3/16 exactly. So I'm going to write that down, 29 and 3/16. Then I'm going to move to my north side, take that measurement, write it down until I have all four measurements, and then I'm going to move down to the truck and start building the crown. Okay, so we've gotten all our measurements from the top of the chimney for building our crown. Now we're going to come down and start to assemble it. I like to use the back of the truck or a flat surface that I can set the crown on. As I screw it together, I know when I hold it flat on our ground that it'll make a nice flat square crown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my measurements, which I have my north measurement, my south measurement, my east and west measurements, and I like to start with my east and west measurements. We always make our east and west measurements on the eastern side face of the chimney the exact length. So I have 29 and 3/16 for my west measurement, and I have 29 inches for my east measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those exactly that length. For the west side, 29 and 3/16, for the east side, 29 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my west measurement, my 2x4. I like to make sure my board's nice and straight. So my west measurement's 29 and 3/16, and that's my exact measurement. I'm going to go ahead and mark that at 29 and 3/16. What's very important is to use your square to mark your line. If I use a factory edge, that's a square edge, and I just made a square mark. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and mark my board too. The way that I'm going to mark that board is I'm going to mark it for the west side. I'm going to mark it 29 3/16. This being my west board. So west, W for west. And it's also an exact measurement, so I'm going to write exact on here. So now I know it's a 29 and 3/16 west side cut, and it's an exact measurement. Around to the other factory side. My next measurement is 29 inches for my east side. So I'm going to go 29 inches. Use my square. So I'm going to mark the stain, be 29 inches. This is my east side, and it's exact. Now I'm going to move on to my north and south side. And so my north side is 20 and 7/16. south side, 20 and 7/16. Okay, so one thing we're going to do now, on our south and north side, because our north and south side are exact measurements, inside chimney, we need to have, to reach the sides, we got to add 1.5 inches for this side, 1.5 inches for this side. So, okay, I've just completed my east and west measurements, which are my exact measurements. Now I'm going to move on to my north and south measurements. The north and south measurements are our exact measurement plus 3 inches. Because these boards are going to go past the crown length and overlap, so we can screw into these exact measurements to make a collar around the top of the chimney. I'm going to make these the exact measurement plus 3 inches. So on the south side, my measurement's 20 and 7/16. So I'm going to change that to 23 and 7/16, adding 3 inches. Same thing on my north side. My north side's 20 and 7/16. I'm going to add my 3 inches because it's the north side and because I need to overlap the east and west sides. So this measurement at 27/16 is now going to be also 23 and 7/16. So I'm going to go ahead and measure and cut those. So this is my south face, 23 and 7/16. I've added my 3 inches. Now what I'm going to write on my board here is I'm going to write the original measurement, which was 20 7/16. I'm going to put a +3 because this is my south face, and my south and north face need to be a positive 3 inches on my length, which equals 23 7/16. That tells me that this board original length was 20 and 7/16. We added our 3 inches for our overlap, and now we are gonna, the new measurement to cut at is 23 and 7/16, and this is my south face. Flip the board over again, get my factory edge here. My next one is my north measurement, which was originally 20 and 7/16. I'm going to add my +3, which is going to equal 23 7/16. And this is my north face. Again. Okay, so that makes all the cuts in my first round. The way that these are going to go together is I have my south face here, which you can see. I have my north face here, which you can see. Now my 29 east measurement, so this is north, this is south, then this right side is going to be my east. Makes this west side the exact measurement. this is the shape of our chimney right here. 29 and 3/16. You can see why on this 20, we moved 20 and 7/16 plus 3 inches is 23. You can see why we do the plus 3 inches. Here's the measurement of the chimney. We're going to add 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here. And that tells you why we add our extra 3 inches. Okay, now that we got it all laid out, and the next step is going to be to start to screw this together loosely. So what I'm going to do to make this a little bit easier for myself is these are my exact measurements. I'm going to need to put screws in these ends to screw in to this board here like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this down, get these out of my way. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill my screws in to put this together. I want to be about 3/4 of an inch from the edge and about 1 inch down on each side. Now that I've done that, I can actually start putting it together. So, my north side's here. This is my south side. I have my west side and east side. What I like to do, I'm going to put this like this. And what I want to do is I want to hold this board flush to the edge here, flush to the top, and nice and flat on my flat surface. So I know I have a, this gives me the ability to push pretty hard against here and have this. And I just run them until they're flush with the boards here. As you can see, I'm going to hold this flush, make sure that's sitting nice and square. Again, hold that flush, make sure it's nice and square with your board below. Okay, now we're ready to go test fit up on the chimney. So I've come here and I have my hammer, my screw gun, the tape, and my start for the lead piece. And what we're doing now, we're going to test fit it. We're going to set it up here, we're going to mount it on here, and we're going to make sure that it fits good. Our measurements should be correct, it should go on, but sometimes we want to put it on and make sure it's exact now before we build any more into this form. Just a little bit. until I'm flush with the top of my brick. Then I know it's set, maybe it's set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snug my screws on, and control where it goes. This is where I make any adjustments that I need to make. It and go ahead and continue to build the next ring. Okay, so I've just finished my test fit. I know this fits snug now. I backed my screws out, got it on, and then I just flushed my screws again so I can put my next ring around this. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and remove this gently and carefully, evenly. Now that I've got it loose, I'm going to remove it and take it back down for more measurements. Okay, we've just gotten down from the roof. We've just finished our test fit, and so now we can install our face boards. So we have a 2x4 here, which is 3.5 inches tall, and we have a 2x8 here, which is 7.5 inches tall. So what we're going to do is we're going to set these 4 boards, we're going to call our face boards. They'll screw to this face, giving us a 4-inch crown. The chimney here gives us an 1.5 inch overhang and a 4-inch crown face. So the easiest way to do this that I've found in the past is that I want to find my straightest board, my nicest flattest face here. I'm going to go and turn this around this way. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my south side here. So just like before when I went with my west measurement, my east measurement, and this is my north, I'm going to go ahead and start with my west measurement, which is also going to be the same as my east, which this is going to be an exact measurement once again. So I'm going to bring this crown, this face board flush here. So I'm going to feel for flush. I don't need to measure, I can just flush this, and then I can mark on this other side where I need to cut. Once I do that, I'm going to pull that forward, get out my square, go ahead and mark that. And this is going to be, this is the west side. This is also going to be my west side. This is my face. So this board should be exactly flush with this end and flush with this end, which we are. So that's my west board. Now I'm going to mark that. I'm going to mark this on the outside, west, face. Now that I have that complete, I'm going to go ahead and look at my other side, the east side. same process. I want to use a factory edge any chance that I can. And I know that factory edge is nice and square. Once again, I'm going to flush this out. I'm going to go ahead and mark this. Flush it here. Now I'm going to test fit this, make sure it's right. Same. And I also want to mark this as being my east baseboard. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take back to my south side in here, south side here, west side here, east side here, and north side here, where they belong. I'm going to line up my west face with my west side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line up my east side. I'm going to find my nicest face, line up my east side and west side. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to screw these and I'm going to tack them in place gently. So I'll kind of show you the process of that. So I'm going to go ahead and start, push this to the side, and make sure I'm lined up properly. And this is just basically a tack screw, 2 of them, to kind of hold this in place. Now I want to make sure my first form's flat, and this is flat, and they're lined up properly everywhere. Go ahead and put a screw in there to hold it. Same thing on this side. Now I'm just putting these in loosely because I'm going to want to adjust these maybe later. Because if it starts getting out of square, I need to be able to bend it back to being square. Now I've got this one tacked. Now I'm going to go ahead and tack my west side. Once again, I got west face marked here. I want to pick my better side. This looks like that's a nice straight side. Line this up. Go ahead and tack it. Okay, so we've just finished setting our sideboards on for the faceboards on our east and west side. They're on there loosely. I got them flushed, not super tight. Now we're going to repeat the process again. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to pull this around this direction. I'm going to take my other faceboard, just the same as before. I can pull this around. I want to line these faces up the best I can, and I kind of know I can mark here, and that's going to give me my correct length. And this is going to be my south face. Once I have that mark, I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to check my mark with a square and make sure it's a nice square mark. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. I'm going to flip this around so I have my factory edge. And I'm going to flip this around on the north side. Line it up. Hold flush here. Big picture ring. I'm going to go ahead and mark this face. Now, this is my north. I'm going to double check my line for square. Okay, I got my north and my south faces. What I'm going to do is go ahead and get these ready to test fit. So this is my nice face. It's going to go to the inside. Go ahead and start my screws just the way I did before in the last ring. Now my south face is here. Actually like this side a little better. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws on the back side of that. Take a picture, Trey. Now I got my north, this is my south. So what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to go on the roof, and the reason I'm going to go on the roof is I'm going to set this up on top of the chimney, set it in place, and I'll actually install these when we're up there on the chimney. The reason being is I can still tighten onto the chimney from these ends and make a nice tight fit. Once I have that stitched tight on the crown, then I can go ahead and install these boards over top of those and cinch those tight. And that gives me a nice tight fit on my first ring and allows me to install this on the field. And all I have to do when I install this piece is hold myself flush here and flush here and here, and I'll have a nice perfect flush top crown. Okay, so now what I'm going to do before I take this crown up onto the chimney, to shorten our time a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and take our measurements for our steel ring. And what that means is I'm going to put a piece of rebar in here in this crown so it goes concrete from the top of this form to here. So we have 4 inches of concrete. I want to put a piece of steel that follows this all the way around. So I'm going to take a measurement. So I want my steel to be just inside the width of the chimney. So 20 inches on the south side. I'm going to go ahead and mark that on my rebar sheet. 20 inches on the south side, 20 inches on the north side. My west side is going to be about 28 inches. So I know my east side is going to be about 28 inches also. So now I have 20 inch by 28 inch steel ring. So I know that's the dimensions that I need. And once I go and I get my form set up here, I can start processing and building that steel ring. Okay, so we're back up here now. We have our form most of the way built. We got our 2 north and south faces that we're going on. So I just finished test fitting, or fitting my crown with my edges on. I still have this end piece off, north and south side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and check. So I'm level here. Level here. Level here. So now I know my crown's level. So now that I know my crown's level, video. So I have my north side board that's already got its screws in it. I'm going to go ahead and attach that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold it in place. I know I'm level, so all I need to do is make this top line up and this top line up, and I know I'm in the correct position. Flush up my head. Nice and secure. Now we're going to install this cell. Okay, so now we got our board set, it's secured, it's tight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a cold here. now that I've got that calmed, I'm going to go and let that sit, let that tack up, and now we're going to go make our steel ring and get our concrete mixed, and then right before we pour, we'll spray this form with WD-40, and what that'll do is it'll make it so our concrete doesn't stick to our baseboard. Okay, so now we've got our form set for our crown and we're ready to pour concrete. So our first step is going to be get out some buckets, our drill and paddle, and I like to do 1 bag of concrete for every half bag of mortar. That gives it a little bit of a sandier finish with a little more cement to make for a nicer looking crown. So this is our concrete, we have our mortar, we got our buckets and our drill and paddle and board to mix. And so we'll go ahead and start that process now. Okay, so our crown is formed and up there and ready, and now we're going to go ahead and bend our rebar so we have it when it's time to install. And I wrote down my measurements when we had the crown on the truck for what size that rebar needed to be. So I'm going to go ahead and configure that rebar now. So I'm going to follow my same pattern of having my north, east, south, and west faces. And my north face is 20 inches, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that. Mark by 20 inches. I'm going to install it in this rebar bender, and my mark is going to be center on the center bolt. I'm going to go ahead and bend that. Now I want to bend it all the way down completely until this collapses. Now that I have my first bend made, to pull it out, I'm going to mark my next bend. So if this is my north bend, my next bend here is going to be my east bend. And that's 28 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark that. Now, when I put this in for bending, what I have to make sure of is that my last bend is vertical when I put tension on it. That way when I bend my next bend, these points are in line with each other so that I have a straight, flat bar to put in. So now I know my north side was 20 inches, so my south side is going to be 20 inches. Once again, I'm going to install that in the bender. To make sure that it's vertical. I'm going to collapse that all the way down, just like before. So now I have one more bend to make. I'm going to bend from this point to here, and then I'll cut it off here. see I have my ring, I have my overlap here. Now I'll just cut this end off. That gives me a ring of steel for installing in my concrete crown. Okay, so now we got our form up on the roof and we have our rebar ring bent and ready to install. So now we're ready to mix our concrete. And what we're going to do is we're going to take, for every 1 bag of concrete, we're going to do a half bag of mortar. And that ratio allows us to have plenty of concrete and plenty of cement. But by adding a little bit of mortar, it raises our sand content, which gives us a little bit of a better finish, less rocky finish on our surfaces, a little bit more of a sandy finish, so that when we pull our baseboards, we'll have a nice, smooth, clean finish, and it'll look quite a bit nicer, quite a bit easier to work with also. So the process will be, I'm going to add water to each bucket, about an inch of water at the bottom of each bucket. I'm going to dump a bag of our concrete in the bucket and a half bag of mortar, and we're going to mix that until it's a consistency of good concrete that'll pour and flatten out, but still a little bit in between stiff and wet. Not too stiff, not too wet, just right. So we'll go ahead and start that process now. Okay, now we've got our concrete mix. We have enough concrete mix to pour our crown. So now we're going to go up and we're going to get ready to start pouring that crown. Now I want to have the tools, take the tools up there when I take the concrete up so that I make sure that I have everything that I need. So what I want to have is I want to have the trowel, margin trowel, an edger, another concrete trowel, and I like this little small finish trowel. If you get the tight corners, it's really helpful. I want to have my WD-40 because I'm going to go up there, I'm going to oil the forms right before we pour. And then I have my steel ring for my rebar that I'll install once the concrete's about halfway up the crown. I'll install the rebar and then I'll finish filling concrete on top of it so it's right in the center of our concrete crown. And I have my vibrator. That vibrator, what it's going to do is vibrate the concrete around the edges of that form and make sure it gets all the air bubbles out, and so we have a nice clean finish against those forms so that when we strip them there's no holes or anything, it's just a nice smooth finish. I also have a bucket of water and a sponge. That bucket of water is about halfway full of clean water, so that if we make a mess or there's any issue we need to wipe something off or wipe our hands off or wash our hands, wash any tools, we'll have that up there. And then last, I just have a bucket that I'm going to put all these tools into as we get ready to head up. So we'll see you up on the roof. Okay, now that that's done, one thing I've done is I've cut the steel on this crown all the way around. I made a little taller crown, I broke it into market. What this is gives me enough slope that from the top of the crown to here I have enough fall so that when water hits this crown, the water runs off. So this cut right here is slightly higher than the crown. So when we pour the concrete, we're pouring right to the top of that cut line there. The next step is we want to wait till the last minute when we do this. And now what we want to do is we want to spray these forms with oil. And what that does is it absorbs, will absorb this oil, and it'll fill all of the pores of the wood. And once that oil is soaked into that wood, it'll make it so that when we pour the concrete doesn't suck into that wood. fast, we're going to add a little bit more. That way it'll flow nice and evenly and nice and fill that bottom edge. Now that I got that concrete in there, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it around. Trowel or a hammer. Tap that. And now I know what I'm doing the rest of vibrate this really well. Smooth out my crown and start my first pass with my edger. Now I've got my concrete poured to the top, just roughly, not the height that I want. What that'll do is it'll bring that sand to the surface of the board, and it'll give us a nice smooth finish. So that when we pull these boards off, it'll be nice and smooth. Completely gone as I'm tapping it. There's bubble stuff coming up. Okay, now I'm going to make my first pass. This is going to do, we have a bullnose edge on this bottom edge. We did our caulking and smooth it nice and smooth. That's going to give us a nice bullnose to that. I'll put a bullnose on this top edge now. And get it prepped for sealer. Okay, the last picture you saw showed us with the crown poured. Tonight we're having cold conditions, and so what we're going to do is we've covered the crown and stapled to our form on the top. We've also wrapped the chimney below. By leaving a hole in the top, what that allows is that this exhaust from the pilot light can still escape out the top, and some of that heat will come and heat our crown and keep it above freezing tonight. And get the solder heat, and in a few days it should be good and ready for peeling the forms and sealing.